I gotta be honest with you guys, I honestly do not remember the last time I watched a comedy movie in the movie theater. Theatrical comedies have almost become a thing of the past in recent years. So naturally, Seth MacFarlane and company are trying to reach into the past and use an established franchise to try to resurrect this somewhat dead genre of film. Surely Hollywood cannot ruin two iconic comedy franchises in back-to-back weeks, can they? Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
Push the goddamn button!
Push the goddamn button!
You heard what she said.
Following in the footsteps of his bumbling father, Detective Frank Drebin Jr. must solve a murder case to prevent the police department from shutting down. So The Naked Gun is a legacy sequel, a revival of sorts, of the iconic Leslie Nielsen-led cop movie spoof franchise of the 80s and 90s. Listen, it's always going to be considered risky anytime you try to revive something that is beloved by many people. It's even harder to do it when you're not working with the original ingredients that made those original films work. To me, Leslie Nielsen obviously made those movies what they were, and he is irreplaceable in a lot of people's eyes because of that. Plus, the spoof movie subgenre of comedy is something that has all but disappeared recently. Perhaps in an effort to erase all of those horrible spoof movies that came out post-Scary Movie. Let's just say a new Naked Gun movie was always going to have a lot going against it, and much to my surprise, I honestly think they handled it pretty decently, all things considered.
I don't believe it!
I think the new Naked Gun movie, especially early on, does find a way to have a nice balance between being consistent with the movies that came before and also kind of trying to be its own thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some callbacks, there are some recycled jokes, but they are used in a way contrary to how they were used in Happy Gilmore 2, where they are not beating you over the head with nostalgia to the point that it becomes obnoxious. I just think the Naked Gun movie handled the nostalgia factor a bit more gracefully than a lot of these way too late sequels tend to do. This movie is very much structured in a similar way that the original Naked Gun films were structured. Voiceover and all, and in that aspect it does feel familiar. Plus you have the added bonus of this film replicating the deadpan, goofball comedy tone of the original pretty well. Now comedy is subjective, of course, and if I'm being completely honest with you, some of the jokes landed, and a lot of them didn't for me personally.
Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker!
But I think that's always going to happen with a movie like this, and this has been a subgenre of movies historically that tends to be very hit or miss for me personally. There are moments throughout this film where the jokes are coming at you so rapid fire that it is entirely possible that I actually missed some of the best ones. I do think that you will probably catch more things on subsequent viewings than you are able to catch in the first viewing alone. There were a handful of times where I felt like some jokes went on a bit too long, and thus kind of rendered them ineffective on me. But at the same time, you have moments like the highly publicized O.J. Simpson joke from the trailer that I think was a throwback in the perfect way to address the idea that this very controversial figure was once a major part of this franchise. In that aspect, I think the movie is very self-aware. It's kind of laughing at itself, which makes it easy for you to laugh along with it. It is filled with the kind of goofy, juvenile comedy that you would expect in a Naked Gun movie, and not in a superhero movie.
I understood that reference.
I think the biggest way that this film actually separates itself from the original was the casting of Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin Jr. We're talking about a guy who went from being a highly respected actor to being a full-blown action star later in his career, and now he's in a movie where he's kind of poking fun of the tough guy roles that he's been playing for the last 10 years. And I do think that Liam Neeson's comedic side, his comedic timing, is fairly underrated and on full display in this film. He has a delivery that's actually pretty similar to Leslie Nielsen's, but it's got a bit more of an edge to it, And that's probably because as the audience, we are just used to him being a bit more serious. And I think it works perfectly for a film like this and for the role he is trying to play. I just think it was a stroke of genius to include him because it is simultaneously a bit unconventional, and at the same time, it makes all the sense in the world. Also, it's great to see Pam Anderson back on the big screen again, a highly influential figure in my adolescent years for obvious reasons, and any child of the 90s knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say that.
Tits. Whew.
And here's the thing, she still got it. She still looks great to me. She has actually aged gracefully, unlike a lot of seasoned actors and actresses in Hollywood right now. And I thought that her comedic timing, as well as her chemistry with Liam Neeson, was actually surprisingly good. And also, it just kind of feels right for someone like her to be the love interest in a Naked Gun movie. This franchise has never been one to shy away from sexuality, and it was nice to see them bring a little bit of that energy back in the new film. Danny Huston is the lead villain in this film, and it's a role that he's probably played a million times before, just never really in a comedy to my knowledge. He's kind of become the go-to business tycoon, rich guy pulling all the strings, villain character actor, and I'm here for it. And in this movie, he's actually playing the role kind of straight outside of a couple of scenes, and it did feel kind of on brand for what we know of Naked Gun villains.
That makes sense.
This movie is also, thankfully, a brisk 1 hour and 30 minute runtime. I think we need to kind of normalize hour-and-a-half movies once again, especially in the comedy genre. Truth be told, if it was any longer, I probably would have lost interest a lot sooner. In fact, if I'm being brutally honest, I did lose interest in this film somewhere in the third act. I don't know, at a point, I think the shtick kind of ran its course and I did kind of check out. But I have to stress again, this isn't exactly my favorite genre of movies. It's very hit or miss with me again. I just felt like the earlier stages of the film were infinitely more entertaining than the later stages. Satisfying endings are one of the hardest things to pull off in any genre of film, and this one just didn't hold my interest for whatever reason.
How can you not care?
Like this.
Listen, at the end of the day, there's nothing egregious going on in this movie. It is harmless in its execution. It honors the legacy of the original films without feeling desperate to do so. And it didn't do anything to undermine the legacy of those original films either, and that's all you can really ask for. It's a throwback kind of comedy film that will remind a lot of people of a time when they were not afraid to laugh at each other and themselves. At the same time, they're not exactly reinventing the wheel here either, not that they should have tried to. I did not think that this movie was the slam dunk comedy is back experience that some people are having, although I can understand why some people would be a little bit more entertained by it than I was, but it was entertaining enough, and it didn't try to be anything other than what it is. The Naked Gun is a revival of a classic franchise where some things work for me and some things didn't, and for that reason I'm going to be giving it the Cathouse.
Saved by kitty litter.
Y'all be cool. Right on.